All right, so we're starting this part, and it's going to be about money management. So when you get down to it, really, um, money management is a way to keep the reins on your logic and to minimize your emotion. Yep, it's being recorded now. So, well, you know, some people, beauty sleep still ain't going to help. Not implying anything there. I'm just making a broad statement. um, Money management really is a way to keep you focused because it's a plan. It's something that you can execute. It's discipline. As I say, be the robot. Trade robotically. Do the same thing in the same situation every time. I might not be as tight on money management as other system instructors are. And the reason for that is pretty simple. My whole emphasis, our emphasis is getting you in the precise moment of a move with high assurity. Not always right, but high assurity. And the more selective you are and the more of these advanced tools that you use, you're going to see the KSP. You're going to know that system performance. You're going to know the system performance. There you go, Gary. And it's not worth trading outside of that. It's just not worth it. I've told the story in the FX Effects group several times. Kind of my little people get a little weary when I ask little pop quiz questions. I said, which would you rather have at the end of the month, a 35% ROI or account return on account, or a 41% return on account? Most people will say I want the 41%. Well, if getting to the 41%, my psychological mental plot looked like that, and getting to the 35%, my psychological mental plot looked like that, I would opt for the 35% month. It's going to be more enjoyable. And the reality is how you got there is going to determine what's going to happen months down the road. And I would suggest with this kind of result, these numbers are going to reverse as time moves downward. This trader likes to go to bed at night because they get to wake up in the morning and get on their charts. There's passion, there's enjoyment, it's excitement. Excuse my language, the charts are your bitch. You own them. When you make your move, you are going to make pips. And the moves that you could be lured into that become iffy, and you stay away from them. You don't fall for those traps. The seduction doesn't get you. You know certain patterns, you have certain tools. That's what you use. And because there's an abundance of trades with just that, it's not worth entertaining this kind of performance plot on your mental, emotional, psychological side. You enjoy what you're doing. As the saying goes, find your passion, you'll never have to take a vacation. Which reminds me, I saw a video of an executive home last night, Tim, and there was no doubt it was right off Santorini. It's just gorgeous. And one of my favorite pictures of the last 3 to 5 years of anything, not just Forex related, but of anything, where some of those pictures Tim shot when he was in Greece and he had his laptop open and you see the cliffs with the white houses and the clear blue ocean out there. Wow. That's the kind of trading, right? Less stressful, more enjoyable. Maldives. Zoe wants to have a trading contest in the Maldives. And I say everybody should be game for that one. So I'm more interested, with Shredder and now TAB29 of getting you into that trade. I'm not going to, try and direct your risk aversion reality. I'll encourage you to open up. I'll encourage you to do the math. I'll encourage you not to have blind statements. It's okay to have a certain sentiment, but don't let it be guided by blind thinking. What is blind thinking? Something simple like, I'm not comfortable with that. Well, that's a terrible response as a master trader, because you're not doing your self-development work. You're not going to make it in the long term if that's the way you're going to allow yourself to self-talk. Of course you're not comfortable with some things. That's called pushing the edge of your comfort zone. And we all know, we've seen those stupid diagrams, it's outside the comfort zone is where all the growth happens. So why would you want to limit yourself to say things like comfort zone? I almost sound like I'm from North Carolina. Thang is, come on. That's just carryover from my excellent karaoke of PYT by Michael Jackson. So I won't say there isn't precise money management. I give you lots of options, because the hard part for most traders is to get into the trade at the right time. How much profit you want to make from that, I allow a little leeway to say, hey, your risk aversion, there you go. But my job is really, I want to get you in that trade. And I believe with TAB29, you'll see that even more so over Shredder. Nonetheless, let's look at some possibilities for money management. So let's talk about 30-minute trades first of all. So I note up here that we're looking for that wave 2. We want to allow that to happen. We know that retracement for wave 2 can go anywhere from 20 to 99.9%. So if we're going to really be ambitious of the potentiality of a 30-minute move, since we're trading 30-minute, we really need to let that wave 2 have a chance to, take place. In other words, we go up, we come down. We can't, there's our convergence entry. We can't take ourselves out of the trade here. We've talked about that. Just because we had 15 pips and it's pulled back to 12, that's not a reason to. If you want to do that, then as I've said before, just, no big problem. We'll just move to the next page, which is about 10-minute money management. Because there you're very protective of erosion. You're very protective against a -3. Here we're going for bigger pips. And the only way we're going to get bigger pips is to let that wave 2 form. And if we're taking ourselves out here, we're never going to get the wave 2. And yes, that means there will be some times you're +9, you're +12, and you're going to end up being -3. Now I go back to my example with Babe Ruth that I constantly use. How many of you can actually tell me the 1, 2, and 3 leaders with least strikeouts in Babe Ruth's era. Unless you're a baseball fanatic, you probably don't know those numbers or those players, because we just don't give recognition to those that had the least amount of strikeouts. And yet many players would go to the bat with that on their mind. I do not want to strike out. Well, in baseball, what's the easiest way not to strike out? Swing on the same plane the ball's coming in. Which is why curves and drops and certain things, take certain batters out. But for the most part, if we make it simplistic, you're swinging at the same plane that the ball's coming at you. You can hit the ball in many spots on the bat in that case. You might swing early and, you go to left field, swing right on time, center field, swing late, go to right field. There's plenty of times in plenty of spots on the bat you can hit the ball. So the way to avoid a strikeout is go with the higher percentage hit, which is a swing level hit. It's a base hit. But guess what? In protecting against striking out, you're never going to put the ball over the fence. Maybe 1 in 100 batters gets a infield home run. But everybody else, base hit, single, double, nothing wrong with them. Sometimes they drive runners in, I get it. But no home runs. There's only one way to hit a home run. You have to intersect the plane of the pitch that the ball is coming in on. There's one point in time, 1 microsecond. Saw a little video about Major League Baseball. I'm not a huge baseball fan, but I love this analogy that I've been using for years. I saw a little video a while back, just a piece of trivia, and it was talking about the science of the batter. And it's like some insane number. Like from the time the baseball leaves the pitcher's hand, there's 90, I think it's 94, 84, something like that, milliseconds that the batter already knows where he's swinging. You talk about muscle memory, eye coordination, all that stuff. It's unbelievable. So Babe Ruth took a different path. He said, I'm not worried about striking out. I want to put the ball over the fence. So he swung at the intersection of that plane more than anybody else, which is a difficult place to hit because there's only one spot you can hit it. Swinging level, you can hit it in any number of places. Breaking that plane with the swing of the plane, with the swing of the bat and creating a plane that way, intersecting the plane of the pitch, that's one sweet spot. So you're going to miss a whole lot more. So yeah, Babe Ruth, it's getting late. Babe Ruth led the league in home runs, but he also led the league in strikeouts. And we don't remember the guys who had the fewest strikeouts. There's no big reward for that. Even in today's world, when baseball fans, they're not, they're not honoring the guys that have the fewest strikeouts. The big contracts still go to the guys that hit the most home runs, get the most batters in. True. Anyway, there's that reality about this. You're going to give up some eroded pips. Now, in all these strategies, you'll see some things here. Let's look at the first one. Trail the gain by 50%. And then you have two options with that, all in or leg down. What that means is, as I'm trailing my gain's moving up, I continue to advance my stop loss to 50% of the gain. So it's a trailing percentage, if you will, instead of a fixed stop, a fixed moving stop or trailing stop. So I'm trailing my gain by 50%. As price moves up, I may hit thresholds where I leg down along the way. When I get to that spot, I'm going to leg down 1 unit. It might be 5, depending on how many lots you have. When I get to another spot, I might leg down some more, even though my stop loss is at 50%. Put a little bit of profit along the way as I'm moving along. Trouble with that on the bigger moves, by the time you get to the end with the big pips, you only have one lot or 1 unit left in the trade. But there are some people that feel more comfortable. Again, I'd suggest you expand your envelope of emotions and comfort, but either one's acceptable. There are great traders in the world who leg down. I've just found within the longer term trades we do that the all-in makes a little bit more, between 3 and 5% more. We have the Hall 21. Once again, you can do an all-in or leg down with that. You can ride the Hall 21 until it flips at the 30-minute level. Might pick out 2 or 3 milestones along the way, 4 or 5 milestones of the way, and leg down along the way. But we have a trailer by 50%. We have the Hall. We have reactionary money management, which says I'm in this trade, it's moving along, I've got a solid 27 pips, and all of a sudden I don't know what's going on. Maybe my mind just kind of went in a phase loop and I'm not sure. Maybe the charts, maybe the indicators are a little whacked. And you know, all the way back to SFX 30, what does hold true from that training is the Holy Grail. And the Holy Grail says if you're in a trade, you don't know what the hell's going on, you get out. Good pips, bad pips, doesn't matter. So if you feel threatened, all out. There are traders who will say, I'm in a 30-minute trade and I'm going to stay in this thing for whatever targets I have, even if I don't know what's going on right this second. So they're going to stay all in. They're going to give up more eroded pips, but they're going to get more big pip trades. Threatened again, instead of all in, all out, same thing. I'm going to leg down some. Not quite sure what's going on. Let me put these 50 pips in the bank. I use a 50% trailer on the rest of them until I figure out what's going on. Then I might come back with some other money management. So all these are great. It's just how you treat them and how you trade them should be the same every time. I wouldn't jump from trade to trade to trade, picking a different, you know, here's a roulette wheel of money management opportunities. Find one, learn how to excel at it. Find two. If you trade pitchforks, you know, you get in on the bottom parallel, you're really looking for a medium line or an upper parallel, you know, an upper line as your targets. We have Fibonacci's along the way. You can either use quads or use 38, 50, 62, you know, and you can leg down if you want to, or use them just to move your stop and stay all in. Your harmonic scans, same thing. Generally, once you go C to D, the move from D back down or back up, just do a Fibonacci on the C to D move. And most of the targets, whether you're an IML or formation seeker, most of those targets are 38, 50, 62, you know, well, 38, 62, and 100. Again, move your stop loss, hide your stop loss behind those Fibos, or move your stop loss, hide your stop loss, and leg down along the way. So you have your options. Same thing with your pitchforks. As you're going Fibonacci to Fibonacci, you can stay all in or you can leg down. Harmonic swings. Essentially, I'm in a 30-minute trade. I'm going to go from 30-minute harmonic wave convergence to 30-minute harmonic wave convergence. You can trade Fibos as you move through that. You could look for, within our INS, you can look for whatever subsystem component has strong compliance today. I mean, I'm seeing some days where those Camarillo purple lines, price just can't get past them. Or every time it hits it, there's a 10, 20 pip pullback to the pip as it hits them. There are days where price goes through the Camarillo lines like a hot knife through butter, but every single Fibo pivot it runs into, it has it. Some days something holds, some days they don't. If you find a day where one of those lines is holding, hey, they become a great vehicle for hiding stops and or legging down. That's what I say by common sense. There's no right or wrong to this. And don't be the trader that tries to evaluate everything that just happened in your trade in order to adjust the next trade. That's a never-ending cycle. Do something with common sense. And you know what? The trader that tries to do it on their own is not going to get very far. I talk about being MacGyver. I talk about being an opportunist. I talk about exploring. I talk about being an entrepreneur. You have this great vehicle called our Facebook groups. And, you know, my Lord, you know, come up with whatever money management you want to use that's these or a combination of these, or if you're going to kind of custom gen up one of your own, just publish it in the group. Hey guys, I was thinking about, you know, this is a money management situation, a system for this kind of move. Please help me find the holes in it. Then, you know, you're not going to be upset when somebody gives you some constructive criticism then, because you're trying to do something. You're trying to find something to better yourself. You want them to find the holes. But do that. You know, that's a tool, and I just rarely see anybody do anything with it. And it's a shame because, you know, it's part of the package. It's part of what you're entitled to. You have to be that explorer. You have to be the guy that, or the gal that will be opportunistic and get the brain power of what's there. Elliott Wave, same thing. You know, those of you that have Motive Wave or access to other Elliott Wave accounts, I don't like trading Elliott Wave as a system for entry. You know, it's too volatile. It's too hard in terms of knowledge to get it right all the time, or a high percentage of the time. But there's nothing wrong once you're in a move or in a particular wave to use the structure of that wave to hide stops and or, if you're all in, you know, and or leg down. And there's probably 3 or 4 more things we could add to this list. But that touches on, I think, the majority. For fan retraces, you know, buys in the sell, sells in the buy, we're looking for harmonic wave convergence. That's our target. We want to have that 8 to 10 pip of pullback, you know, before we enter the trade. And at that point, you know, at the extension of that fan retrace, we're either all in or we're going to leg down and full exit at harmonic wave convergence. Another thing you can do is take it all the way to harmonic wave convergence, assuming it's a clean convergence, and stay in and just CBT that convergence with a you know, position in the opposite direction. If on the way to harmonic wave convergence there's some sort of pullback against you, I would just scale that as an exit. What I mean by that is, you know, if I normally allow, you know, 2 pips for a 5 pip move, 2 pips of pullback against a 5 pip move before I would act, then if I have a 10 to 12 pip move, I can't use 2 pips anymore. That's not, again, that's trading in conflict at that point. So if I'm going to use 2 pips of pullback for a 5, 6 pip move, I need to use at least 4 pips for a 10 to 12 pip move, maybe 5. It's a little bit more bleed, but it's a lot more pips if I, you know, if it stays with me. The second thing is we pointed out on a fan retrace, if I'm going to enter that first move, and I've got the recommendation here, 8 to 10 pips of pullback to be worthy of entering that first move. If I'm going to enter the first move at the time I entered, I got to be prepared to take the second one. Do not trade in conflict. Do not take that first trade and then not take the second trade if you get stopped out. You're denying the math, which is a 95% or so, just a tad under, percentage of times that bundle of moves, the first or the second is going to get you to a higher, you know, higher high or lower low point of convergence. Don't catch yourself not taking that second trade. Got to take that second entry if you get stopped out on the first. 30-minute trades that are also 480 trades and or 480 daily trades. The 62 money map is a great solution. I wouldn't try and use the 62 money map on every 30-minute trade. You know, while the 62 money map is a play at a bigger run, and we don't, you know, can a smaller move end up running into a bigger run? Yes, it can. It's just the probabilities aren't there. The number of times that happens doesn't show up frequently. And so the bigger moves are the ones that generally exercise the 62 money map. And so if I have a 30-minute convergence and it happens to also be a 8-hour convergence, it's a great time to invoke the 62 money map. Any questions on any of that? So 10-minute standalone harmonic wave convergence trades. Standalone means it's not in combination with a 30-minute or a 240-minute. It's just a 10-minute extreme by itself. So what we know through experience of trading 10-minute trades is it's a little bigger than a scalp most of the time. You know, we used to call this 10-minute trading SBT for shredder burst trade, because and even then we were starting to use trend bars some of the time. You know, the trend bars give you that assurity that there's enough momentum that even if it does start to turn back around on you, you'll be able to exit positive. That's what peak 3 really does. That's what trend bars really do. And so generally, if you catch a 10-minute trade that has a little bit of burst to it, typically the minimum you're going to get out of that thing is 5 to 7 pips. A medium-sized 10-minute trade is going to be 8 to 11, and a large trade is going to be 12 to 15. And again, yes, that's an 85% bell curve, so there's, you know, 10% on each side of that, a little smaller, a little bigger. You know, we've seen 10-minute trades that go 40 pips, even though they're not associated with a 30-minute trade. You just caught the right one at the right time. Not even talking about announcements. I'm just talking about just, you know, what it did on a particular day. So any time we're in those trades and we've got any of those groupings of pips in our pocket, we don't try and stretch those trades out. There's no need to be 7 pips up in a 10-minute trade and to try and squeeze it to be 12 pips. It's just not worth it. That's why we know the spread ranges that the distribution of pips gain that we see, so you have a feeling for that. And it doesn't mean 5 to 7 pips on the left, meaning, oh, this is the start of the move, and 12 to 15 on the right. No, it doesn't work that way. We're just talking about the randomness of the actual amount of pips you're going to gain from a 10-minute trade, assisted by the nature of that trade being in a burst mode, so it should rarely go back against you. So anytime I'm in those kind of trades and I get something like the 1 minute going to extreme, you know, a subwave hook back, those kinds of things, you just put the money in your pocket and go out for the next 10-minute trade. In terms of 10-minute trades that are fan retraces, you know, again, a buy into the sell or sell into the buy. Again, I'm looking for harmonic wave convergence. It's, you know, my goal in any fan. You know, and again, I could stay all in until a full exit or harmonic wave convergence. I could, you know, exit on a scaled pullback. So if there's some sort of pullback against my move or hook back against my move on the way to convergence, I would definitely book those pips as fast as I could and just move on. Okay. Once again, if you're doing a buy into the sell or sell into the buy as a fan retrace entry on a 10-minute wave, and you go negative on the first one, you're committed to enter the second one. But again, as the recommendation there says, that 8 to 10 pip pullback, that's going to guarantee you from taking the short ones that go nowhere. And again, of all the mistakes that I see shredder traders make, or the silver and above that are trading buys and the sells and sells and the buys, the largest mistake that spans the most number of traders would be fans where the pullback was just way too small and the trader was only paying attention to the beauty of the fan rather than the beauty of the fan and how far it had actually pulled back. So as I've said before, those certain formations will be very seductive, alluring, to enter or to trade, but the reality is that's all it was. It was an appearance. And so the gauge on that then has to be something more concrete. And for me, that's just absolute pips. 1 minute scalping, there's only one target, and that would be, the 1 minute going to extreme, or on its way to extreme, if I have a hook back, and again, exit in scale, if I have a hook back against me, then I would exit then as well. So that's our essentially 480, 30, 10 minute, and 1 minute money management. Anybody have any questions at that at all? So I don't expect to hear, what do I do for money management? Now, if you, along your path as a trader before Shredder or in some of your outside study and reaching, outside of the Shredder world, if you come across a money management scheme that makes sense and isn't just rewording some of the stuff we already have, share it with me, and we can share it with the group. I almost just like had a vibe that you were going to do that, Tim. Yeah. But here's the thing, guys. This is what, if you want to see the grizzly bear get grizzly, come out of hibernation and start spanking left and right. When I see a trade, OCR or post, and I was saying, well, what were you doing for money management? And I get a, cross that bridge when I get to it. Or I'm going with the flow. I'll know when it's not flowing anymore. That's when you'll get me riled. So I don't care what you do. I'd like to make, it should make some common sense. It should put risk. Do the math. Make it work for you for the math. How do you analyze something? When I say do the math, you analyze it for if it goes all your way, what are the possibilities? And if it goes totally against you, what are your possibilities? You know it's going to typically, on average, end up somewhere in between. So what can you live with that'll keep you happy? Remember at the very beginning, I says, what do successful traders do? They accept 65% of the move. That being said, we talked about a 50% gain as one thing you can do for a 30-minute trade. How would you like to make 95% of gain and that stop loss not stop you from having the price go more in your favor? In other words, it's not so tight and shallow that any kind of pullback would take you out. Who would love to have a stop loss that was 85, 95% of gain? Anybody? That's a real question. Well, I think I'll save that one for next week too. So, all right. Did I start my watch? I don't think I did. Doggone it. Oh yeah, I did actually. Yeah, thank you, Adam. Got other people timing it. What slide? Okay. Got to get a drink here. Could be just your punch drunk, and that's your imagination. I almost labeled it that way, Zoe. It's funny. So, all right. Advanced traders, I know you love this part. Advanced traders who've been plugging into me the last couple of weeks, last month. The private coach traders, definitely. But for everybody else that's gone through bronze, even in silver, have to apologize, I lied to you. So remember how we said, don't worry about your results. You're only got a piece of the system. You're not trading everything you're going to trade. Does that ring a bell? Anybody recall me hearing that? The whispering going on here is about what? Candles that are 2 times, 3 times, even 5 times the size of the normal candles in the field of view. Do not trade. If you have a channel that is less than 10 pips, do not trade. If I have a steep channel and, you know, I even drew a little green, yellow, like a tachometer, green, yellow, red, you know, once that channel gets above 30 degrees, look out. You know, once that, not percent, degrees. Once that channel gets to, you know, so above 30 degrees, we'd be going, hey, look out. Once that channel got above 45 degrees of angle, you know, these are all no's. Now, the reason this is again, nobody's going to dust their account with -3s. But what will stop you from trading tomorrow is a belief that you're getting nowhere today. So if I take the extremes of all of these and put it into a move, the rationale, especially as a bronze and early silver trader, is this. So we have a very tight channel. We have a channel that already is very steep in its orientation. I don't even need big candles, but the big candles only do what? They make this steeper and narrower, right? They make it steeper and narrower. So the bronze trader who trades harmonic wave convergence is getting these opportunities for trades on the way up. And what typically happens is, I tell the bronze trader, hey, congratulations on being bronze. Hey, congratulations on being bronze too. Remember, don't evaluate your results. So what will end up happening is -3. This is, the pound overnight during the London session. And I'll have an email or a Facebook message the next day, and it goes something like, Steve, I'm not so sure, man. I was trading last night, and price was really taking off, and I got 5 -3s in a row, man. I'm not so sure about this system. Or maybe it's just me. Or maybe I can't really, maybe the Forex just isn't right for me. I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. So over time, see, what does that do? Is any of that real? Well, the advanced traders know it's not. The bronze trader at that time doesn't know it's real. But they know they tried to get every one of these harmonic wave convergences. So in time, the damage doesn't come from the -3s because, hell, that's just a practice account. The damage comes from them assimilating this and thinking, holy crap, I paid some big bucks for this system, and I won't even be able to pay the system back, nonetheless convert this into a full-time job income. They're doing things I already told them not to do. Why are they doing that? He asks. All right? So in order to protect their mental health, so I could get them to move forward to the next levels, I say, don't do these things that are going to give you emotional stress. They don't give it to you financially because you're not trading live yet. It's all about you projecting these results into your trading future when you are live. So how do I avoid that? Don't trade big candles. Don't trade these steep, narrow-channeled moves. And the reason is, if you were to match up harmonic wave convergence with this, what do you suspect it would look like? 30-minute wave. Ten-minute wave. What do we call those? No, before the trade. We haven't got the trade yet. Yeah, Kevin, sliders. They're sliding into the convergence. Finally we have the 1-minute wave come in like this. So there's our harmonic wave convergence, and I teach you to call that what? A 6, a 7 if you're lucky, but the bottom line, that's no trade. It's got sliders. Why do the waves slide? The waves slide because what happens in price is it's pushing up. It looks like a convergence here, and price pushes a little higher, and it pushes a little higher, and it pushes a little higher. And it's hard to capture that. The better analogy of this is when it's a downward slope and we've got price coming down. It's like you at the bottom of a hill trying to stop a truck. Unless you're Wonder Woman. God bless Gal Gadot. Unless you're Wonder Woman, you're not going to be able to stop that. It's going to hit, and there's going to be some skidding. Even Hancock, trying to stop a train. It wasn't a dead stop. There was some digging in of dirt and digging in of railroad ties, as he was trying to get that train to stop. So there's too much there, and it's going to slide on you. And sliders typically mean I enter after 2 pips of pullback, and the sooner I enter, it goes on up to the next high. So to avoid the psychological damage of those -3s, no trade big candles, no trade steep moves, no trade narrow channels. Now, some of you weren't listening, but in other times, I'd be talking to other people saying I probably make 50 to 60% of my money off this move. Now, if you're not American, you can do even better. So now I'm going to show you the magic of this move. Don't even have to talk about the waves. I'm going to talk about the move that you were not allowed to take because of all the things it had. Impulsive moves, steep channel, narrow channel. So let's talk about math. But now instead of Math 8 in algebra or whatever, we're going to talk about geometry. I tease about that, 10th grade, 9th grade, whenever you had it. When will I ever use geometry in the rest of my life? So the way I'll make this point easier is if we look at a normal ranging price move where, price comes up to the top and comes to the bottom and comes up to the top and comes down to the, you know what I'm talking about. At best, sometimes, or, it'll move up and come down halfway to the channel and then go back up. If we isolate that part right there, what is that? What is that about? That's nothing more than what we typically expect. I have the start of a move, the end of a move, and I've got a 38 or 50% retracement, and then it goes back on up. The problem is that could be a 50. That could be a 61.8. That can be a 78.6. There's a reason there's 78.6 and 88.6 in our Fibonacci's, because sometimes moves do that. But when you start turning this on its side, something happens to those Fibonacci's. If you look at what I've drawn here, these being the harmonic wave convergence, do you see any 61.8% retracements in any of those moves? By physics, by geometry, you can't. Unless price moves like I draw backwards. Price can't leave this convergence up here and decide it wants to come backwards. Doesn't work that way. So as it's coming down this way, and remember what else is going on, the steeper this channel gets. What happens when this channel gets steeper? Why does price just take off and accelerate once it leaves the bottom side of this? Because there's upward pressure, strong upward pressure. And the bigger this angle gets, the bigger that upward pressure. So as we go from 15 to 30 to 45, not only by the law of geometry do we prevent the 61.8 and the 78.6% retracements. I mean, you've got to see that. Because price can only come down so far. First of all, you got pressure pushing it up, and even when it tries to come back, boom, okay, there's a steep move. I got 23.6 retracement. And that's about the deepest it gets. Got a hard wall right there. The reality is, if price decides to have a deeper pullback as I measure this move from down here to here, the only way it's going to get a 50% or a 61.8 is what? If that's the channel breaker. If it breaks the channel. That's when I can get a 50 or a 61.8 or a 78% in compared to this, as we look at this move here. Otherwise, I got a hard wall there. So price is limited in the amount of pullback it can achieve. Does that make sense? Do you see that from a physics/geometry perspective? Well, that's good news in terms of things like stop losses and how I can follow and not be threatened. The second thing is that aids this, what is truly what we now call a T4. It's the fourth type of move, which is a hyperextended run. Extending itself, it just keeps going and going and going. Hyper because it generally does it rapidly. Hyperextended run. Try to talk and write, that never works. So what favors the hyperextended run, in addition to the steepness of the angle of the channel, is the width of the channel. And the smaller the width, the better off it is, because that wall is now sooner engaged. If the wall is out here, notice how this price can continue to come back. Now I'm at 50%. If the wall is out here, now I can come back to 61.8. Starting to make sense? Now what we're going to do as a silver and above, as a TAB29 trader, is we're going to take a buy into the sell. And this is the impulsive side of the move. Remember, as we looked at the diagram earlier today, I said trade the impulsive side, not the corrective side. So the pips to be made here are on the buys into the sells. And as the FX traders know, again, in the last 2 years, I've probably said this 100 times, I will not take this harmonic wave convergence here unless, what? I have pips in hand. Because I know this is a throwaway. As long as this channel perpetuates itself, that harmonic wave convergence entry is a throwaway. I'm going to eat the -3. But if I have 15 pips in my hand at the time I'm going to trade that -3, well, that's okay now, isn't it? And even though I have a high degree of doubt in such a steep and narrow and aggressive channel, why in the world would I take the -3? Why would I take that harmonic wave convergence fully expecting it to go -3 on me? Why would I take it? Exactly. It's an insurance policy. It may be the channel breaker. It may be the one that goes 144 pips. Now, if you're your typical average person, you have all sorts of insurance. You have home insurance. You know, if you rent, you've got renter's insurance. If you got a car, you got automobile insurance. If you've got a boat, you got boat insurance. In America, you know, forced by law, we have health insurance. You know, you got a responsible for your income, or you're getting older, you have disability insurance, short-term disability, long-term disability. Some people have, you know, funeral expense insurance, life insurance. And you pay all those premiums not because you're hoping to die or get in a car wreck or sink your boat, but just in case. And because they're generally, well, with the exception of health, they're generally fairly well priced. It's a small fee to pay for the coverage that you get, just in case. So if I could be 15 pips up, 12 pips up, 11 pips up at the time I take a harmonic wave convergence that I expect to go -3, I don't care. And you know what? I'm smiling about that trade. I'm even liking it more when I go -3. It just means the trade is going to go up more. So I enter my buy into the sell. I get up here. Now, something about that buy into the sell. As this goes halfway up, where's my stop loss? I'm trailing my gain by 50. So when it finally gets up here, I've got 50%. Remember, I have to worry about being taken out by that Y. The steepness and the narrowness of the channel minimizes the degree of pullback. So at 50%, I'm okay. Like I said, the only time I'm going to be taken out at 50% is if this is the channel breaker, and then I'm in the sell. So every pip I make in this direction, I'm not worried about. I'm offsetting the erosion that I would have made in my buy. So buying to the sell, I'm just going to say 1 here. What ends up happening is I enter this after a couple of pips of pullback, and it turns around, goes up against me, and next thing you know, here I am, takes me out 1 pip above my entry, for my -3. Because this is steep, because it's a shallow width, there's no need to exit my buy into the sell as I would normally. Remember money management for a trade. Doesn't matter whether you're 10-minute or 30-minute. What's the objective of buying into the sell? Harmonic wave convergence at the other end. Well, I don't have to worry about that here. So what ends up here is I take my sell, I go -3, but buy into the sell number 2. Now, at the time, buying to the sell number 2 moves up. As it's moving up, what am I doing? For buy number 2, I'm trailing my stop loss by 50%. When it finally gets to the top, where's my stop loss? Right there. So my stop loss is at 50%. Where is my stop loss at that point in terms of trade number 1? In terms of trade number 1, the entirety of that move is now up to here. My stop loss was 50% of the second buy. At that point in time, my stop loss is 75% of gain for trade number 1. What? Thank you, Andre. I enter my harmonic wave convergence. I get stopped out. I'm doing a Charlie Brown dance because I got stopped out. But I didn't get stopped out until after I entered buy number 3. And I'm following buy number 3 up. And it gets to here, trailing stop, 50%, 50%, finally gets to the top. There's my stop. It's 50% of this move. What is it for my first move? 50, then 75, then what is it up here? 87.5%. Do I have to worry about me jamming my stop loss so close? No, because what? It's the same stop loss for trade number 3 that the only way it's going to get broken is if you have the channel breaker. So I would want to be taken out. But now in terms of trade number 1, my stop loss is just that distance right there. I get to keep 87.5% as I'm moving on. Come on, where's the oohs and ahs? I know we're getting late, but come on. I feel like a stand-up begging for laughs. So you can do this all day long. Eventually, we're going to have the channel breaker that is going to take all of our buys out. But in the meantime, let's say we get up here. And you pick a number, 75 pips. Well, trade number 1 makes 75 pips. Trade number 2 makes 50 pips. Trade number 3 makes 25 pips. Trade number 4 makes 12.5 pips. And the one that finally takes us out up here maybe, or this one, when it comes back and goes and it takes all of those trades out, because they've all extended themselves now, they're all up to here. 1, 2, 3, maybe 4. They've all extended themselves up to here. When price comes back, and it is the channel breaker, and this is the harmonic wave convergence that actually creates the reversal, and it goes, it's going to take me out at the 50% of that last move. All my trades go out. Boom, 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 however I had. And now I'm in the sell for however long it goes. So for a move that essentially went 75 pips, you got about 167 pips out of. Those will be all fan retrace entries, but because of the extent of the move, don't expect your fans to be fully engaged. That's why if this is a solid move and I have solid trend lines on it, not iffiness, not just kind of like, oh, I'll put some lines on the chart. These are the general boundaries of the move. If I've got wick 2s, remember what I said earlier, it doesn't matter where your peak 3 is as long as the peak 3 is reversing at the time I get the bounce on the hard wall. Because there's so much upward pressure here, there's no way the peak 3s in the indicator are going to be bottoming out. They're going to be shallow pullbacks. So your peak 3s are going to look like that. You just may have a trend line for some of them. But you don't need it. If I have the trend line here and I'm getting nice pullbacks to this trend line and price turning off of it every time, then I can count on that in the future. I don't need the peak 3 to go to extreme. Anytime I have the peak 3 pullback starting to hook back up at the same time this is bouncing off the proven trend line, I have a trade. And yes, absolutely, these buy into the sell entries are going to be very fast. Why? They're impulsive moves. They're going to peter out the correction that's taken place, and they're going to aggressively take off. So you need to be ready for them. You can't do all sorts of fiddling around on this. But this is your money maker. There are enough of these. So many of the trades that you bronze traders and early silver traders were posting, thanks to the great coaching you had, hey, this is a no trade because it's impulsive. Hey, this is a no trade because it's impulsive. You did exactly what you were taught, but just understand now there's going to be massive money in them. Do not chase the tops. You take the tops only because you're in the bind of the sell. You take the tops only because you already have pips in hand. You don't start this process by trying to catch the harmonic wave convergence and then take the buys into the sells, hoping eventually I catch one. You go aggressively after the buy into the sell. It is the impulsive side of this move. The harmonic wave convergence is the correction, which is not the side of the move you want to be on, just as we illustrated earlier when looking at that move. When I repackage the training, I will have 3 or 4 examples. I have four spots I was collecting trades, and it just wasn't I was more interested in trend lines the last 10 days than I was this, because this occurs frequently enough. You'll see it. I don't have to, but I will have some. If you trade buys into the sells routinely, you will walk yourself into one of these moves. We did plenty of examples today. Remember where I showed you where price just fell off the chart and we got in on a trend line entry because what was happening is the price was already squeezing down, and we just took a trend line entry, trend line in the indicator field. And then after we take that trade, price drops down. So you learn to recognize these. What is that? 24. Where are we? 60. Hold on. Whoops. Yeah. So as an example, now we had an upper trend line helping us, but we, as I said earlier, we don't need the upper trend line. I have a trend line here that was fixed from a convergence, and it slipped down a little. Now we're at about 85%. You draw the trend line. This becomes a trade. This becomes a trade. And this trade here is a buy into the sell. It's just not one that you would be able to take in multi-wave, because these are all fans off, fans off, fans off, fans off, fans. There's not even a convergence. I think, well, this might have been a 10-minute convergence down here. But all the rest of these are just seemingly fans off, fans off, fans till I get maybe here. And it's just a crappy looking convergence anyway. So that's how you catch the drop. The reason, remember, the reason these P3s are short, these peaks are short, is what? There's pent up downward pressure. This channel doesn't have an amazing slope to it, and yet look, this thing can't get up but 80%. Not even. That's a warning sign. This next one comes along, and here it is down at 60. Wow. That doesn't look like a huge slope, but that tells you there's huge pent up downward pressure. Oh, there's my trade. There's my drop. Now, you know, again, this is a 10-minute chart. If you were to see this drop on a 1-minute chart, you would be able to have entries, you know, in this thing as it was coming down. So when you go on the search for these, they'll become a little bit more self-evident. So all right. I just love being able to go to live charts to show this. So you know, I don't want anybody to believe this is a fabricated reality. Boom. Here we go. My eyes tell me. I don't know, but my eyes are telling me. Let me get a line on here. Yep. So not huge drop-offs, but drop-offs. Drop below. Now we're down, you know, pushing 80. There's your trade. Dinky little move. Look how small that channel is. And, you know, this is still a small move, but I'm just by magnitude. That's how you catch it. You know, there's your trend line. I get the third bounce. Boom. As I said, now again, you still have to watch scale. So I'm quick to show you a move that probably wouldn't be taken because of scale, but I wanted to show you how the trend line worked and was right there. And the 30-minute wave, well, I'll answer that when I'm done today, Stuart. I don't want to put it into the recording. Market's flattening out too much. 1 minute. Okay, so you gotta have to. I had to leave the 1 minute charts because they're just too flat right now. But let me pull over my pound. And again, you'll get an eye for these just like you'll get an eye for pitchfork once you draw enough of them. So I got lines on. I could see it right here. Hopefully you can see it too. Just if I can draw the line level. Oh, pretty amazing. $10, $20, $30, $40. Still going. Not out yet because of this. Boom, there it is. They're there all over the place, guys. Oh, let me make sure that's fair. Hold on. I don't fudge lines. Let me just... You can tell I'm just a little high on that end. There you go. Yeah. Good. And, you know, I don't know who it was asked earlier. Andrew, I think maybe. We were talking about, you know, 1 minute, whatever. So look, as you got this trend line drawn out and you see the wave starting to come down, and I'm starting to see it down here, you know, I could pull up my 1 minute chart next to it, maybe my 10-minute chart. I don't have to have this same sequence of lows. All I'm looking for in my 1 minute chart is something help substantiate this entry. But, you know, in terms of is that anything special right there? Well, look above. There's your textbook out of SFX 30. That is a retrace extreme at exhaustion, just as we would have it diagrammed in SFX 30. 30-minute wave, deep pullback, 5-minute wave, going to extreme. Turning around, hooking back up. So, you know, I don't want to take away the power of what tab 29 brings to you. But I'm just saying sometimes you will see secondary and tertiary stuff there. Makes sense? You may, you know, may have secondary support for some of this stuff. Just depends. Oh, there you go. So trend line in price, trend line in peak 3, tab 29. I got a great trade. They're all over the place. Just look for them. Don't force it if it's not there. You know, I dismiss some of my trend lines in the indicator field because it's just not close enough. But, you know, there's massive support here for everything else in that trade. These things are all over the place. 10-minute charts, 30-minute charts. I showed you 8-hour charts, 1-minute charts. I don't have the euro yet, Jap up. So let's see here what I have left. I think we're at a point I don't want to stop and start. I think we're done. But let me just validate something here. Oh. So this is an internal joke with somebody, but I'll put it up anyway just for fun. That was phase 1, and now we're ready for phase 2. All right, so I'm going to conclude with the following comments. Again, observations of many years of coaching, guys. You're not going to learn to trade on your own. Those of you who think you do, congratulations on being the first really good, successful trader that learned 100% on their own. Maybe 1 in 1,000 can pull it off. And thinking that you can is your ego. Thinking you don't need to post trades is ego. Thinking you don't have to do your write-ups is ego for your books. Thinking you don't have to participate in the group and comment on other people. I don't mean just like. Ask questions, inspire, motivate, support. Constructive criticism is fine, but look, we're community. We're all learning something. Support each other. Pretend you're in the same boat. I eventually left the Navy. I went to a hangar one night. Watching a bunch of Airedales work on a Tomcat. Same thing, Top Gun. Smoking pot. They were working on the hydraulic systems. 2 sailors. Very capable guys. See, the difference there is they don't go up in the plane with the pilot. So I have tremendous respect for submariners. Because you know what? The guys that fix the engines or the shaft or take care of the nukes, whatever, they're on the same boat the other guys are. You don't see a tighter group than submariners. They all have to be a little wacky, but in terms of the bond between them. And so, kind of interesting relationship. You're not going to learn from another trader who's at your level. Just reality. It goes back to the self-development theory about, you're going to become the average of the 5 people you trade around the most, you hang around the most. If you're trading with people who are your equal, how are you going to get any better? You learn by being part of the Pip Club community. So I'm not just doing a sales job on that. I'm doing a sales job on it to the extent that that's how you are going to get to be a better trader. So some of you have been in Pip Club for a long time and haven't stepped foot in the Facebook group. Some of you are in there now and then, commenting here and there, liking things here or there, but no posts, no trades, very little critical help to other traders, not a lot of support for other traders. Go back to Zig Ziglar. Help enough other people get what they want, you're going to end up getting what you want. Pay it forward. Help your teammates. Help your fellow community. All right, so TAB29, let me talk about ongoing support. For one, there will be another TAB29 class. It will probably be virtual. And so once it's done and the files for this class have been replaced, you can go advance through that at your own pace. There probably won't be any more revealing stuff about TAB29, but I will be incorporating the full schedule of our complement of training. So it'll be a soup to nuts starting with the 62. So that's the project between here and fall. In the meantime, these files will be uploaded. You'll be able to access them. I ask that you do not share the links with anybody else. When the Pro charts with whatever upgrades are actually being concocted are available, I will let you know. We are resetting the keys for all of the power waves and the trend bars. Just a fact. So for support, I'm going to kind of shake stuff up as we go through the rest of the year and just have everybody take their Peak 3 trades in the PIP Club Shredders group. So to post trades, ask questions about it. I know we're in there with other people who have not had Peak 3 and don't understand Peak 3. And so don't, I'm asking you not to share stuff with them. They may ask you questions. You'll know by the type of questions whether they've been through the training or not. But that's the place to be, posting your trades and asking your questions. Unless we change that, and then it won't be. So, Pro charts, I'm expecting them back any day. And in terms of TradingView, I'll have links for you pretty soon. And they will be available, as well as the indicators. And so that'll be a solution that's available, as an alternative to Pro charts. For some, it makes more sense. They're web-based. You can access them anywhere. For Macs, because they're web-based, they'll be a greater solution. Run it on tablets, run it on your phone. They've already got apps for the phones, specifically for TradingView. They are introducing brokers that let you trade directly from the charts with TradingView. Yep. But I do ask that you only go through TradingView through the PIP Club links so we can help, support our programming efforts. The stuff with FXTrack is not cheap, and we're trying to evolve stuff moving forward. And so don't everybody run out and get TradingView and then just wait for the indicators. That's not going to help our efforts and our programming efforts any. I don't have any other questions, so I've exhausted myself. So 2:30, we started at 8, so that's what, 6.5 hours. So see, it didn't take 10. I feel comfortable with what was conveyed today. I feel that there was enough teaching. I feel there were enough examples, and I feel that you should have enough to be dangerous at this point to go out and start taking some trades. And there's some of you specifically I expect to see some trades from. You can always email me with any feedback on the session. I appreciate all of you who have strange hours and coming at strange times to sit through this. Again, I know some of you, it's a little bit of a review, but we packaged it. Hopefully I packaged it in such a way that finally everything is condensed in one spot. And probably we now expect some answers sometimes to questions to be, go see Module 4 about halfway through. That'll be your answer to your question. Some of the stuff is a little long-winded to explain, such as hyperextended channels. The links are in PIP Club. The TradingView links are in PIP Club. It's just you don't have access to the indicators yet. Thank you, sir. Especially you coming around for this event. I appreciate the support. I'm tired as all get out, but I'll sleep good tonight. Yeah, I'll pin those links that are in the PIP Club thing to the top. Since we had the class, I had pinned everything about the class to the top. I'll pin the links to the top for TradingView. One cool thing, let me say this before you leave. You know, I don't know, I gave a pretty robust spec document to FXTrack. I know they're working on it because every 2 or 3 days they come back with a question for clarification. They also came up with a novel idea, by the way, and this is, Mark, this is for you if you're still around. You know, we had an issue with the trend bars that if yeah, I believe they reset. I don't think it's a 30-day reset on the cookies. I think they reset them automatically. You know, on ProCharts, we had an issue with they have to assign the time period legend to a wave. And because I essentially stripped everything out other than the trend bars so we can add other waves to it, they didn't have a way of attaching it. You know, like right now it's attached to late break. You have to have late break there to see what the time frame is. And if you take late break out of the trend bars of multi-wave TB as it was, you lost that legend as to what time frame you have. So they're just going to set, I mean, this is so, I got pissed when they told me because it was like, dang, I should have thought of that. They're just going to set the 50% red line as a plot. And so they can attach the time period to the 50% line, which I thought was a pretty creative way of doing it. All it means is for the traders that did not originally purchase the Power 10, are not FXFX members, are not privately coached, or didn't pay to attend this class, they're not going to have access to the indicators. Well, you have to be careful. It's, you know, at where you are. As I said, the entry is the entry on the trend bar hits. It's not something that has to be followed through perfectly to lower levels. What needs to be is if my hit is there, that does need to be somewhat substantiated by the lower level. Not always. Depends on the kind of hit. No, the new code will only be emailed to previous Power 10 purchasers and people who purchased the class. If you're a coach client or you're a member of FXFX, I'll just post it in FXFX. Everybody in FXFX has the course, so all FXFX traders will just get it posted. So just check in the group every now and then and turn notifications on, and you should be good. There is a Going Silver video, Isaac, not a PDF. There's a Going Silver video and a adding trend bars to your chart video for silver. So let me do one thing here, and I guess I'm going to stop the recording.